Okay, I think the 1810 we read. So, hmm. 3:18:12. So this is a conversation between Varahadev and Hiranyaksha. So I'll just read a few verses. The personality of God, it said, "Indeed, we are the creatures of jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death." So we are talking about freedom from fear. The Lord is saying that I have no fear from all the talk that you are speaking. Of course, the Lord has no fear of anything. It is out of fear of the Lord that the wind blows. It's out of the fear of the Lord that death is chasing everyone. It is out of fear of the Lord that the sun is rising. There is a verse like that. So, and he is freed from the entanglement of death. So the Lord is not in the cycle of birth and death. We know in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I come by my own sweet will. We are in the cycle of birth and death. So we are forced to take birth in some family, in some species of life. Then we are forced to die. Then we take another birth in another species of life. But Krishna says, Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakriti janguna. No, not that. Ajopi sanaviya atma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma maya. In the fourth chapter, he says, I descend by my own potency. Sambhavami means I appear. So Prabhupada says one who understands the nature of the Lord, then he also goes back home, back to Godhead. In the fourth chapter, again that verse comes, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. So by understanding Krishna and his activities in truth, then we will go back to the spiritual world. Means if you understand Krishna's position as God, then you will surrender to him. And if you surrender, then you go back to him, Krishna. So certainly we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatal and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time. Because of having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I have no place to go. Okay, so I'll just move on. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word. So you have told that you are going to slay everybody. So now you fulfill your word. Pran jai par vachan na jai. So if you are so honorable, then you fulfill your word. A demon may be a great soldier and commander of a large number of infantry, but in the presence of Supreme Personality of God, it is powerless and is destined to die. The Lord therefore challenged the demon not to go away, but to fulfill his promised word to kill him. So Lord is also inciting. Because Hiranyakashipu wanted to fight. Remember in the previous chapter he went to, who did he go to for fighting? Anybody remembers? And then that person said, Vishnu will be a good match for you. Varuna. Yes. He went to Varuna. And Varuna, he was challenging Varuna. And Varuna didn't want to fight. He said, oh, Vishnu will be a good match for you. So now he's going to fight. Okay. Sri Maitreya said, the demon being thus challenged by the personality of God became angry and agitated. And he trembled in anger like a challenged cobra. So Vinash Kale Viprit Buddhi, that is also there. When one is about to die, Vinash, then Buddhi also becomes Viprit. So he is going to fight with God. So a cobra is very fierce before ordinary persons. But before an enchanter who can play with him, he's a plaything. Similarly, a demon may be very powerful in his own domain, but before the Lord is insignificant. The demon Ravana was a fierce figure before the demigods, but when he was before Lord Ramchandra, he trembled and prayed to his deity, Lord Shiva, but to no avail. So, Andho mein Kana Raja, there is a saying like that, right? Amongst those who are less powerful, you can exhibit your strength, but before God, you are like nothing. So, Brahma also, he said, my mystic ability, my mystic power is like what? Some glowworm in the presence of the sun, right? So we can exhibit our prowess and we can be very power. Some people can, but before God, what is our? We are insignificant. Our power is insignificant. So Ravan was also a very fierce fighter, but before Lord Ramchandra, he is nothing. So before God, who is the source of all power, who is powerhouse of everything, then so he was very fierce. Prabhupada says Cobra is tamed by the one who plays the veena, right? He is dancing according to the veena or the what not veena. What is that thing he plays? And the cobra is just dancing. So everybody is a plaything before God. Hiranyakashipu was also plaything before Narsingadev. He was playing Hiranyakashipu. Narsingadev was playing with Hiranyakashipu just as a cat plays with a mouse, and finally finishes it mine. So we have to realize God's power. Before God's power, I am nothing. So we should not be proud. So so he was because he's a demon. He cannot understand. He doesn't have good intelligence because he thinks he is the controller, and he is very desirous of big false ego. So he cannot understand God's position. So he wants to fight with God. Of course, this is now a pastime that Lord wanted to fight, and Hiranyaksha is fulfilling the desire of the Lord to fight. But from our point of view, it's a lesson. We cannot fight with God and with Maya. God's Maya is also very powerful. You cannot fight. One devotee was saying that if you fight with Maya, then the trident gets pierced more. Prabhupada also said material problems, and you try to find material solution, it creates more material problems. Material solutions to material problems creates more material problems. So with Maya, you cannot win. But only way you can win is by surrendering to Krishna. So we are very tiny, insignificant, and Krishna's Maya is very powerful. So only if we take shelter of Krishna, then the influence of Maya will go away. Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya Mamevaya Prapadyante Maya Medam Tarantite. So surrender, we have to say, Krishna, you are the controller. I am just insignificant living entity. Okay. Then we will also experience peace when we surrender to Krishna. Hissing indignantly, all his senses shaken by wrath. Yeah, I like to say.
Yeah, and same in previous words said, anger and agitation is a quality of a demon. And in the Bhagavad Gita also says that the krodhat bhavati samoha samvat vibhrama smriti brahmasad buddhi nashat pranashyati. So from anger all the complete delusion started, and then bewilderment of memory and intelligence lost. And when intelligence lost, then we again come back fall into the material world. So anger is, and we should not be agitated in anger. We should try
Anger is
to
anger is one word short of
Danger.
danger.
And anger is coming because of lust is not satisfied. So the most sinful enemy of the world is lust, from which anger and greed is coming.
Yeah, when we have strong desire to enjoy and our desire is not fulfilled, then we become angry. So that is the problem. But if you are getting enjoyment through Krishna consciousness, then then because we want to enjoy, that's our nature, anandamayo bhyasat. We are by nature full of pleasure. So if in material enjoyment may come, may not come, right? Material enjoyment is like that, depending on our karma and so many things, and it may come and it may not last. There may be so many obstructions to material enjoyment. So naturally we will feel frustrated, and then frustration may give rise to anger or depression. So but that's why we become ultimately frustrated in this material existence, because death is there, and nobody likes to die, because we all want to enjoy, and death is like an you know it it is an obstacle to our enjoyment, material enjoyment, because material enjoyment depends on the material body, and if material body is getting diseased and going to perish, then where will my enjoyment come from? So that's why nobody likes to die, because we all want to enjoy this material existence. So it's a threat to our material enjoyment. That's why we try to avoid. And of course, as soul, we want to live. We are souls, so we want to live. But this situation, if we analyze it, it is like this in the material world. So we seek enjoyment in the right way. Yeah. So that's
Hare
it's a learning lesson. Yeah, it's a learning. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna Prabhu. As the death approaches, if you come to know that you're going to die in 2 days, all the tendencies to attain material pleasure ceases at the very moment. In every pleasure, you will see death. That's what I was going through. So, like, just I was reading through every activity, you will see death, and
Mm.
all the tendency to take pleasure goes off. So the devotees, there are two kind of people who face this kind of thing. One is materialist, another is devotee. The materialist would be greatly disturbed because they cannot take pleasure out of any material things. But for devotees, it is the greatest pleasure because they're gonna meet Krishna.
Mm.
So there is a like a sea change in the perspective between a death faced by a devotee and a death faced by a materialist person, because because the source of pleasure is different, and a spiritualist is gonna reach his source of pleasure, whereas a materialist is gonna go away from the source of pleasure.
Yeah, if you have lived your life in Krishna consciousness, and you know you've done some devotional service, then you have hope that Krishna will save me. So yeah, that's like the example of the cat, right? The cat and the
Cat carrying the kitten, cat carrying the mouse.
cat carrying the mouse and cat carrying the kitten. So
Yes. So we can judge our bhakti when we get the news of death, how much we have progressed.
yeah. So before death comes, Janish is saying, "Die before dying." Right? He's saying, "Yeah."
I was also thinking, yeah, I mean, before death comes, disease and old age and miseries in the body. Also, if somebody has some, pain and misery in the body, like cancer, some disease, they are not desiring, to enjoy the body. I mean, they're praying that this pain goes away, the enjoyment automatically, and people even stop eating. Even that kind of sense gratification is, they don't seek enjoyment in, because they're feeling so much pain. So, I mean, ultimately, enjoyment doesn't last, but the pain is so much that. So I was just saying that for to be in a healthy body, it's rare. When things are working nicely, it's very short time that we have this healthy body, and when we have everything nicely, normal, healthy body, then of course the thoughts of sense gratification comes.
Mm.
Yeah, and then we waste time.
Correct. Yes, a good point. Yeah, when we are healthy body, we think, yes, I can enjoy this way, that way, and it distracts us from bhakti. So
Because we are under control of mind, we have to destroy the mind completely by chanting of the holy name. Holy name destroys the mind. So the tendency of propensity to enjoy with the material thing goes off.
Yeah, we have to chant nicely and more and read scriptures, then slowly, gradually, yeah, the tendency go away. So, hissing indignantly, all his senses shaken by wrath. So this Hiranyaksha was, was very angry. He was hissing. The demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. So he was holding a mace, gada, and he hit the Lord with his gada. The Lord, however, by moving slightly aside, dodged the violent mace blow aimed at his breast by the enemy, just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. So he wanted to strike the Lord, but the Lord moved away. So the mace did not strike the Lord on his chest. So he dodged the blow. And just as the comparison is that yogi would elude death. Of course, nobody, how can yogi elude death? Let's see what Prabhupada says. The example is given here in that perfect yogi can overcome a death blow, although it is offered by the laws of nature. It is useless for a demon to beat the transcendental body of the Lord with a powerful mace, for no one can surpass his prowess. Those who are advanced transcendentalists are freed from the laws of nature, and even a death blow cannot act on them. Means they become deathless because they become Krishna conscious like that. Superficially, may be seen that a yogi is attacked by a death blow, but by the grace of the Lord, he can overcome many such attacks for the service of the Lord. As the Lord exists by his own independent prowess, by the grace of the Lord, the devotee also exists for his service. So, what is any comments on this scene? A yogi is attacked by a death blow, but by the grace of the Lord, he can overcome many such attacks for the service of the Lord. So, he may be protected by the Lord. That's one way to look at it. And maybe he goes to the realm which is deathless, which is spiritual realm. So he overcomes death. Like Dhruva Maharaj, they say, when he boarded the plane, what did he do?
He put his feet on the dead
Oh,
young root.
yeah. He, Dhruva Maharaj, the Vaikuntha airplane came. So he put his feet on the head of death and using that he boarded the plane. It's like a stepping stone to go to the Vaikuntha. So death is nothing but for a devotee opening the door to eternal life. It's like Prabhupada says, you sleep and you wake up. Death is like sleeping, you wake up and you're in the spiritual world for the pure devotee. Like that. So you go back to the. Otherwise, for others who are not perfect yet, they have to enter another womb of another mother. Another mother. Be very scary to again be confined in the womb for 9 months, assuming that yeah, human form will be given. But again, you have to be in the womb for 9 months in lockdown. Cannot move. What a lockdown it is, right? You cannot move. You cannot say anything. You can't. Even if you cry, nobody's there to hear you. So, and it's very dark. And this Prabhupada, Bhagavatam says it's bitten by the skin is bitten by the different secretions and all the acidic substances and the worms and all that, whatever it is. So very, and is jolted around, right? And the mother is moving, the child also moves. Sometimes they do exercise and so many things. What happens? The child is getting jolted inside. He is curved, his back is curved, he's in a bag, can't move, and he's like being, moving around. I don't know. It's not a comfortable situation as we learn from the Bhagavatam. So we may imagine, oh, it's nice, you're in a bag and you're being moving around like that. But it's not very comfortable. Bhagavatam, we should believe Bhagavatam than anybody else outside in the material world who may say, well, my child is very nice. He's kicking me. I'm feeling the kick of my child. He's so nice. He's very happy. Like that. It's not happiness. Bhagavatam says it's misery there in the womb for the child, and sometimes for the mother also. Uh, you have to go through vomiting and so many things like that. Prabhupada says that uh, the mother goes through so much pain through childbirth and says, I will never become mother again because it's too much. And then again she becomes a mother. She again gets pregnant and again like that. So our situation in this world is also like that. We have been smashed by Maya, but we have forgotten. We have been forgotten, then now again we are trying. Again we are trying. So punascharvita charvana. We have been beaten black and blue, so many times in this world we have. But again we are trying. So this is the hope that Maya gives. Well, it will work out next time. Like Jarasan, he was defeated by Krishna. Next time it will work out. It will never work out unless you become Krishna conscious. So material things never work out. But Maya is so powerful. The illusory energy is so powerful. So we never surrender to Krishna. Of course, all the you devotees are surrendered, but generally speaking, it's complete surrender. When you are finished with material existence, you feel like, yeah, there's no hope for enjoyment here. Then you say, no, Krishna, I'll take shelter of your feet. Okay, so like Prabhupada told Bhakti Charan Maharaj, you have been trying to enjoy for so many lifetimes, still you are not satisfied. Now give this one life to Krishna. Forget all. It's only one life. What is going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. If you give one life to Krishna, what will happen? Just see what will happen. Just make an experiment and see what will happen. If nothing happens, it's all right. This is only one life out of many lifetimes. You will have another life to enjoy after this. So, like that, he was convincing him to give up material enjoyment and telling him to take sannyas. The personality of Godhead now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in rage, took up his mace again, and began to repeatedly brandish it about. So again, now Krishna is also getting angry, Varahadev. And he is also rushing to, because this is Viryaras, right? Lord wants to experience Viryaras of fighting. So he is now exhibiting his anger, like Narsinghadev also exhibited his anger in this. And the demon, again, he took up his mace. Varahadev dodged the blow, and now again he took his mace and he was moving it about, showing how powerful he is. Then with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. So the Lord also has a mace. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. So the two maces collided, the Lord's mace and Varaha's mace, and somehow he protected himself. In this way, the demon Haryaksha and the Lord, the personality of God, struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. Haryaksha is another name for Hiranyaksha, the demon. Hiranyaksha, what is the meaning of Hiranyaksha? Hiranya means?
Gold.
And
Golden.
Searching for one who's searching for gold.
Aksha means eyes. One who eyes are always looking for gold. Means they are always looking for money. There is so that's gold. And Hiranyakashipu means not only gold, but he's looking for soft bed for sense gratification. So like that. So there was keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces. So Lord also had injuries. And each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In their eagerness to win, they perform maneuvers of various kinds, and their contests look like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. So, two bulls are competing for a cow. Similarly, these two, it looked like that they were competing for something, they were fighting, and both wanted to win. Here, the Earth planet is called Ila. The Earth was formerly known as Ilavritta Varsha. And when Maharaj Parikshit ruled the earth, it was called Bharat Varsha. Actually, Bharat Varsha is the name of the entire planet, but gradually Bharat Varsha has come to mean India. As India has been recently divided into Pakistan and Hindustan, similarly, the earth was formerly called Ilavritta Varsha, but gradually, as time passed, it was divided by national boundaries. Of course, we know ultimately, previously it was one ruler in Hastinapur, and everybody was under that ruler, and everything was in one country, kind of. There were maybe different provinces, but they were all reporting to the same emperor at Hastinapur, like that. So Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor, and Yudhishthir Maharaj before that, like that. Okay, O descendant of Guru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality of Godhead who appeared in the form of a boar. So there has to be some spectators for the fight. Brahma was the spectator. He was looking what's going to happen, and he came with his followers to see. The fight between the Lord, the Supreme Personality of God, and the demon is compared to fight between bulls for the sake of a cow. The earth planet is also called Go or cow. As bulls fight themselves to ascertain who will have union with a cow, there is always a constant fight between the demons and the Supreme Lord or his representative for supremacy over the earth. So earth represents here the Go or the cow. So both are fighting. Lord is fighting and Varahadev. Of course, but in the material world, everybody is fighting for domination, right? So many wars are there. Here the Lord is significantly described as Yagna Avaya. One should not consider Lord to have the body of an ordinary boar. He can assume any form, and he possesses all such forms eternally. It is from him that all other forms have emanated. This boar form is not to be considered the form of an ordinary hog. His body is actually full of yagna or worshipful offerings. Yagnas are offered to Vishnu. Yagna means the body of Vishnu. His body is not material. Therefore, he should not be taken to be an ordinary boar. So he is Sachidananda Vigraha. Even as a boar, he is Sachidananda Vigraha. Brahma is described in this verse as Swarat. Actually, full independence is exclusive to the Lord himself. But as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, every living entity has a minute quantity of independence. Each and every one of the living entities within this universe has this minute independence, but Brahma, being the chief of all living entities, has a greater potential of independence than any other. He is the representative of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and has been assigned to preside over universal affairs. All other demigods work for him. Therefore, he is described as here as Swarat. He is always accompanied by great sages and transcendentalists, all of whom come to see the bullfight between the demon and the Lord. So, what is the relationship between free will and the modes of nature? Or free will increases when the
When we
influence,
surrender to Krishna.
when we surrender to Krishna, then the influence of the modes of nature decreases, and then our free will increases. Otherwise, we are under the modes of nature according to our karma. We have acquired certain modes of nature, and those modes are dictating to us the mode of passion. Krishna says there is always, in 14th chapter, he says there is always a supremacy, competition for supremacy between different modes, mode of passion and mode of goodness and ignorance. They're competing. So, ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha Ahankara vipudhatma kartaham iti manyate. We are thinking we are free, but actually we are bound by the modes of nature. But our free will manifests more when the influence of modes of nature decreases, and that we can get out of the mode of passion, which is mostly driving everybody. The- So we can get out of it when we surrender to Krishna. When we adopt spiritual practices, when we then will become less, and more we surrender, the less we will become completely pure devotee is above the modes of nature. So, so his free will is like Brahma is a pure devotee. Our Brahma is a pure devotee, and he has more free will than the ordinary living entities who also have minute independence. But Prabhupada says here because he is the chief of this all living entities in this universe, and because he is surrendered to Krishna more than others, so he has greater free will. So we have experience in our life. Sometimes we don't want to do things, but we are forced to do, and sometimes we want to do things which we cannot do. We want to do certain things we can't do. We don't want to do certain things we are forced to do. So we have all experience of this. So why is that? Because that is the influence of the mode of passion, modes of nature like that. So those urges are very strong, and it's not easy to. So we have to take shelter of Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, pray to Krishna, like that. And intelligence comes from Krishna. All these things. So slowly and gradually, will become rise above the modes of nature. So mind is such a tricky thing. Mind makes us do things, and then the same mind tells us, why did you do that? Arey, you only told me. I was under your influence and I did it. And now you're telling me why you did that. So this is how, or sometimes we are supposed to do something, but we are not doing because we are under influence of mind and the modes. So, as you are saying, we have to break the influence of mind. Every time we chant Hare Krishna, we are going against our mind. We are saying, mind, no, you have to hear this mantra. You may want to do, it's like, you're building your muscles. To build your muscles, you have to lift some weights. So it gives some pain to the muscles initially. But if you lift regularly, then your muscles will become strong. So similarly, by doing things against our mind, which are favorable for the soul, spiritual life, then we build our muscles of the mind, and you have to have some resistance to build some strength. So that is we are pushing the mind against its will, and then that way mind becomes stronger. That's why tapasya, right? Tapasya, Ekadashi, and all this. It's like tapasya. Mind is saying, I want this, and you say, no, mind, you cannot have it. So, of course, sometimes we do little fast, and then we just say, no, now I'll eat. Now I'm feeling very hungry. But yeah, we have to practice that. Krishna says, Abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyana chakriyate. So every day we have to chant Hare Krishna. And when we are chanting, then the mind is going here and there. So we say, no, mind, no, you have to listen to this mantra. We are forcing the mind to listen to the mantra. Like Ananta Shesh Prabhu sent some on WhatsApp. Giriraj Maharaj was telling Prabhupada, my mind wanders when I chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada says, you chant loudly. Chant loudly. So, okay. After arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayan, who was assuming the form of a boar for the first time. So Brahma saw how Hiranyaksha was so powerful, and he addressed Narayan. Brahma spoke to Varahadev. Lord, now what is he saying? Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods. The Brahmanas, the cows, and innocent persons were spotless and always dependent upon worshipping your lotus feet." So he's giving what this demon has done. He's always proved to be an obstacle for all the devotees and everybody, all those who are favorable to you. He has become a source of fear by unnecessarily harassing them. Since he has attained a boon from me, he has become a demon, always searching for a proper combatant. So Hiranyaksha also got some boon from Brahma, wandering all over the universe for this infamous purpose. Lord Nrsimha Dev tells Brahma, don't award boons like this again. To right at the end of the pastime, he says. Is it correct? In Hiranyakashipu.
Once Lal Gobind Prabhu mentioned in one of his lecture, I mean, so humorously, Lord Vishnu went to Brahma and told him, he was speaking in Hindi, so that was very humorous. Where he said, "आप क्या क्या वरदान देते हैं, मुझे क्या क्या बनना पड़ता है उसके लिए." so very beautifully Lal Gobind Prabhu once told.
Yeah. So here Brahma also has given a
Brahma
boon.
didn't give the boon, then no pastime would take place, right?
Correct.
So actually, it was sanctioned by Krishna only. Like the curse to the Jain Vijay was also sanctioned by Krishna. He said it has come by my will.
Yes, ultimately it's otherwise there will be no glories of Prahlad Maharaj and things like that. So in one sense it's happening according to a higher plan. Everything is happening according to a higher plan of the Lord. So the Lord wanted to fight and the whole pastime of Jai and Vijay happened and all these things. So but still Nrsimhadev says that at the end of the pastime, correct? And I was
Prabhuji, who was the form of Jai Vijaya's last? One is Shishupal and the other is?
There is who? Shishupal and
Shishupal. Oh, okay.
yeah, that is in Dwapar Yuga. We are in Satya Yuga with Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu here. Yes. So there are two classes of living entities. One is called Sura or the demigods. Another is called Asura. How do you understand this word Asura? Ashu means?
Asu means quickly. Ra means to enjoy. Those who want quick enjoyment.
Yeah.
Those who want quick enjoyment, they are called Asura or the demons. So there is an Asura. Of course, we know Asura and Suras were different in different planets. Before, then they came on the same planet, then in same family. Now they are in the same person. So there is a part of us that is Asura, and there is a part of us that is Sura. So we have both godly and demonic qualities in us. And Lord Chaitanya came to destroy that Asura in us by giving the holy name. So demons are generally fond of worshipping the demigods because they can get what they want fast, and especially Lord Shiva, who is very easily pleased. Demons are generally fond of worshipping the demigods, and there are evidences that by such worship they get extensive power for their sense gratification. This later proves to be a cause of trouble to the Brahmanas, demigods, and other innocent living entities. So the boons of demigods create problems. That is why Bhagavatam says, even if you have material desires, don't go to the demigods, go to Krishna. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena jajeta purusha param. Because Even if your material desires, if you go to Krishna, then your desires will get purified, like Dhruva Maharaj. But if you go to demigods, then your material desires will not get purified. And like Hiranyakashipu worshipped Brahma, but he was not purified. So they say, go to Krishna. Of course, Krishna may fulfill, may not fulfill. He may remove the material desire. So many things. Or he may fulfill in such a way that your attraction for Krishna increases. So demons habitually find fault with demigods. And another thing is Krishna will see if it's good for you. Then he will give. Whereas demigods, if you fulfill the requirements, then they have to give whatever you ask. Did Brahma not know that Hiranyakashipu is going to create havoc? Yes, he knew. Before he gave the boon, he knew. But he's obliged to give because I think it's some like kind of some requirement that is fulfilled. Just like if you pay for a air ticket, they cannot say, "Oh, because you are belong to certain community or caste, we will not allow you to fly in the airplane." No, you paid the money; they have to allow you to board the airline. They cannot say, "Oh, we only allow Americans to board the airline, not the Africans or not the Indians." Anybody who pays gets on the airline. Even terrorists, of course, they do some check, but yeah, so it's like that. If you pay the money, or as the example was given, if a child goes to the shopkeeper and says, "Give me cigarette," he gives 100 rupees and they will give cigarette because he gave the money. The demigods are not. The shopkeeper is not thinking, oh, whether it's good for the child or not. Like that, I've heard. I don't know. It's
So, Prabhuji, demigods don't have a free will?
they have free will, but uh, it's like karma kanda worship, right? If you fulfill the requirements, then they have to give. I think that's how it is set up. Because otherwise, why would they give boons? Of course, in one sense, if they didn't give the boons, then the pastime would not happen. So that's way also. But like Shiva gave boon to Rikasur, right? That anybody whose head he touches, then he will die. So what is is that what it is? That demigods are obliged to give when somebody fulfills the requirement? They don't have their independent choice of not giving the boon.
I think every jiva has its free will. But
But then
therefore,
why? Then you would say you would think that why would Shiva give boons to demons? Like Ravana was also a great devotee of Lord Shiva.
they're working under Karm Siddhant. So they have their own free will, but they're executing the Karm Siddhant. If somebody does this, they reward him. If somebody does that, they punish him.
Correct. So that's they're obliged to give if somebody gives.
Like job. You're doing a job. You're a doctor. If a patient comes, you have to treat them. That kind of thing.
Correct.
And Ravan, the boon of Shiva to Ravan is actually the will of Vishnu to free Jai Vijay, right?
Ultimately, it's all in this pastime, it is all like orchestrated by the Lord. Yeah. Okay. The way of demon is to take the power from the demigods and then attack the demigods themselves. Yeah. Anything else to say? Okay. The way of demon is to take power from the demigods and then attack the demigods themselves. There is an instance of a great devotee of Lord Shiva who obtained a boon from Lord Shiva that the head of whomever he touched with his hand would come off its trunk. That's Rikasur. As soon as the boon was offered to him, the demon wanted to touch the very head of Lord Shiva. That is their way. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead do not, however, ask any favor for sense gratification. Even if they are offered liberation, they refuse it. They are happy simply engaging in the transcendent loving service of the Lord. So, Prahlad Maharaj said, Swamin Krithartho Asmi Varam Na Yache. Or in Damodar Ashtakam, he says, I don't want any other boon, but I just want this form of yours as Bal Gopal may ever be manifest in my heart. So like that. Right in the Damodar Ashtakam, first he closes on something and then he goes on the face. What is it? In the Damodar Ashtakam, there flow.
The Damodara Ananta Vishnu.
Yes.
Repeat that.
Correct. There are third, fourth and fifth verses where he talks about. Many times he says, in the ninth verse, no, eighth, seventh verse also he says, I don't want moksha, I just want prema bhakti. So they get so much enjoyment of bhakti that they don't care for liberation. Okay. Lord Brahma continued, my dear Lord, there is no need to play with the serpentine demon, who is always very skilled in conjuring tricks and is arrogant, self-sufficient and most wicked. So if they finish him immediately, don't play with him. No one is happy when a serpent is killed. No one is unhappy when a serpent is killed. It is practice among village boys to catch a serpent by the tail and play with it for some time and then kill it. Similarly, the Lord could have killed the demon at once, but he played with him in the same way as a child plays with a snake before killing it. Brahma requested, however, that since the demon was more wicked and undesirable than a serpent, there was no need to play with him. It was his wish that he be killed at once without delay. Okay, so Brahma continued, my dear Lord, you are infallible. Like Nrsingadev played with Hiranyakashipu for a few hours because he wanted to keep the boon of Brahma intact. And the twilight time, he waited till the twilight time. So, and he was enjoying, right? It's like he's fighting with Hiranyakashipu. It was little enjoyment for Nrsingadev. So fighting is also like, people wrestle, they fight, boxing, It's sometimes it becomes very bloody, but they get some rasa out of it. Here it is perverted, but in the spiritual world it is pure. So so Lord also has a desire to fight, and that's why, because He's the source of everything, we also have desire here. Everything is in the Lord, and that's why we as sample of the Lord, we also have the same desires. We like to tease. Krishna also likes to tease Rukmini, and we also like to tease. Sometimes devotees tease each other, and that all is coming. But here it takes on a perverted form. So sometimes you tease somebody, and that person becomes, like your enemy. He becomes upset, doesn't like it, because it's not perfect relationship here in this world. Whereas in the spiritual world, it's perfect. So it gives enjoyment to everyone. So Brahma continued, my dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill this sinful demon. Prabhupada even said that the desire of boy loving a girl, girl loving a boy, where is this coming from? Because it is in Radha Krishna. So it is there in the original thing. So that's why it's there here. But in a perverted reflection. Like that. Brahma continued, my dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill this sinful demon before the demoniac hour arrives. And he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. You can kill him by your internal potency without a doubt. So he says there may be some time which are favorable to demons. So before that time comes, you kill him. Of course, the Lord can kill anybody at any time. It doesn't matter. Sometimes we say Murat. This Murat is good, and this is when we should do Griha Pravesh, and this is when we should do our Lagna and all this Murat. But for the Lord, it doesn't matter. Although Brahma is saying like that, before the demoniac hour arrives and he becomes more powerful, you kill him. But for Lord, it's not a problem. But Brahma he doesn't want to see the demon because he has caused so much havoc. He just wants to see him dead. So sometimes you can't stand somebody like Mr. N, who was giving so much trouble to Prabhupada in the Bombay land procurement, right? Bombay land building of the temple. He was cheating, and Prabhupada was happy when he just wanted. He said he prayed to Nrsingadev, and isn't it? Did he pray to Nrsingadev? I think. And Mr. N had heart attack. Is that correct? Those who have read the book.
I don't remember, but he saw that he was limping or something, and Prabhupada knew that he wouldn't stay alive longer. But I don't know whether he prayed to Nrsingadev for kill him. But I think Giriraj Maharaj, when he heard the news, he Prabhupada mentioned something like when a serpent is killed, everybody rejoices.
Correct. So he was happy, and then
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. Maybe I'll find out if it's true or not. Whether Prabhupada was, because he was giving so much trouble to the devotees. One devotee that dragged her by the hair, and so many things happened there, and he was like trying to cheat. He had some people on his side, so he wanted to keep the money and also keep the land. He didn't want to give the money back also. If the deal doesn't go through, then the money should be given back. But he wanted to keep the money, and also he wanted to keep the land, and in this way cheat the devotees. So it was clear that he wanted to, you know.
Yeah, and that girl whose hair were being dragged, she cursed because they were putting fire to the temple, and she was like the pujari of the temple, trying to save the deities. So she said that you're putting fire to the temple, you'll be burned by fire. And at that actually happened, those two people, they had a fight amongst themselves, and they put oil on each other, and before the temple, they were burning on the streets.
Oh.
So, and yeah, Giriraj Maharaj said that she was a mystic yogi, that girl, and her curse came true.
Yeah, and she's a devotee also, right? So, I mean, you give trouble to devotees, then obviously Krishna will not like it. So they fought themselves and they burnt each other. Like, is that?
Correct. Yeah. In front of the temple, their bodies were burning.
Oh. Yeah, so never give trouble to devotees. Never mess with devotees. Don't give them trouble because Krishna doesn't like it. And that whole Hiranyakashipu pastime is that don't mess with Prahlad Maharaj. Then Lord will become very angry. Okay.
Devotee never curse anyone. He gives trouble also, but they are always thinking they are well wisher to everyone.
Yeah, but sometimes they do, like in this case, devotee curse.
Yeah, because actually she was not because of her own. She was the pujari. They were trying to,
Trying to.
destroy the deities.
Correct. Yeah. So they were trying to demolish the temple, and she was trying to stop, and they dragged her with her hair. So, like that. Yeah. My Lord, the darkest evening, which covers the world, is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kindly kill him and win victory for the demigods. So, dark time is like demon time, so he's saying, you please kill him before that. The auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most opportune for victory, commenced at midday and has all but passed. Therefore, in the interest of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. Thus, this demon, luckily for us, has come of his own accord to you, his death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. So, Brahma is saying, please take immediate steps to kill him. Okay, we'll read one or two verses in this chapter and then we'll see. Killing of the demon Hiranyaksha. Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the words of Brahma, the creator, which were free from all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. So Brahma's prayer was genuine and very sweet to hear. The Lord laughed and said, yes, accepted his prayer. The word Nirvyalika is very significant. The prayers of demigods or devotees of the Lord are free from all sinful purposes. But the prayers of demons are always filled with sinful purposes. The demon Hiranyaksha became powerful by deriving a boon from Brahma, and after attaining that boon, he created disturbance because of his sinful intentions. The prayers of Brahma and other demigods are not to be compared to the prayers of the demons. Their purpose is to please the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Lord smiled and accepted the prayer to kill the demon. Demons who are never interested in praising the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they have no information of Him go to the demigods, and in Bhagavad Gita this is condemned. Kamestestarita jnana. And that other verse is also Alpamedasham Tadbhavatya Antavat tu phalam tesham Tadbhavatya Alpamedasham Devan Deva Yajvayanti Bad Bhakta Yanti Mamapi. Persons who go to the demigods and pray for advancement in sinful activities are considered to be bereft of all intelligence. I mean, because everybody wants to become happy in the material world, so we pray to different demigods. But it is considered to be bereft of all intelligence because you can never become happy, really speaking, in this material world. Without Krishna consciousness, we cannot become happy. And we have not reached that conclusion. People who have not reached that conclusion, they try to become happy by adjusting the material situation and praying to demigods. But it never works out because you have to leave. It's all temporary. So that's why Prabhupada says it is bereft of all intelligence and advancement. Pray for advancement in sinful activities. And that sinful activities will again create all misery in the future. Demons have lost all intelligence because they do not know what is actually their self-interest. So, because they are not hearing from devotees. So, Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. Prahlad Maharaj says that. Yes, we don't know that our real self-interest is to go back home, back to God and to serve Krishna. So we are thinking that something else is going to be my self-interest. This is my self-interest. But actually surrendering to Krishna is my self-interest. So this is greatest obstacle, as the Kumara say. To think that something else is more pleasing than self-realization is a great obstacle. So we have to be convinced, we can become convinced. So Krishna gives us experiences also. Through experience, we can become convinced. If not by hearing, but sometimes we have to go through some experiences in life to become convinced that yes, I will not be happy by these other ways. So even if they have no information of the Supreme Personality of God, they decline to approach Him. It is not possible for them to get their desired boons from the Supreme Lord because their purposes are always sinful. So Krishna may not grant their desires, so they go to demigods. Because their desires will not be fulfilled, Krishna will not give something. It is said that dacoits in Bengal used to worship the goddess Kali for fulfillment of their sinful desires, to plunder others' property. Like we heard in Nityananda Prabhu's pastime also, the thief's pastime. The dacoit was saying that, oh, we were unsuccessful because we did not worship goddess Chandi properly. And then the next day they worshipped goddess Chandi with meat and wine. And the second day when they went, they saw the guards standing outside. Big, heavily built, bodyguards outside chanting the name of Hari. And so, but they were thinking that like that. So they worship goddess Kali. Dacoits and there's Prabhupada is saying they were for sinful desires fulfillment, to plunder others' property. But they never went to a Vishnu temple because they might have been unsuccessful in praying to Vishnu. Therefore, the prayers of demigods or devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are always untinged by sinful purposes. We can pray to demigods for devotion to Krishna. Okay, we can stop here. It's 1 hour. So I'll bookmark this. What else can we do if we want to do anything else?
We were doing a lecture yesterday.
Yeah, we can hear us.
Can continue with that.
Correct.
Or
Stop.